Ever had a neighbor who seems to wake up every morning looking for a new way to make your life harder? I do. Her name is Karen. It all started simply enough. I live in a neighborhood governed by a homeowners association, an HOA, and I decided I wanted to raise a few chickens. Fresh eggs, a touch of country living, a little rustic charm in the suburbs. So I built a small, neat coop in my backyard. It was compact, well-built, and honestly kind of adorable. My 3 hens settled in immediately. Karen, whose backyard faces mine, was not impressed. Exactly 1 week after chickens arrived, I received my first official HOA letter, a formal complaint, filed by Karen, of course, stating that my coop was an unauthorized structure. Apparently, I had violated some obscure bylaw buried deep in the rulebook. The fine was $100, and I had 2 weeks to remove it. I was irritated, but I figured rules were rules. I took it down, paid the fine, and decided if I was going to do this again, I'd do it properly. This time, I read the bylaws myself. Every section about backyard structures, accessory buildings, and material requirements. I found a clause about minor outbuildings. There were size limits and approved materials listed. Fair enough. So I built Coop 2.0. Smaller, built strictly with pre-approved materials. I even painted it to match my house. From Karen's yard, it was barely visible. I thought surely this one would pass. It didn't. 2 days later, another letter arrived. This time the complaint wasn't about the structure. It was about livestock noise. Chickens, as you may know, cluck, gently, softly. It's hardly a rock concert. But Karen had actually recorded my hens' morning clucks and submitted the audio as proof of a nuisance. The HOA sided with her again. Another fine, $200, and another order to dismantle. Now my chickens were temporarily relocated to a cage in my garage, and I was beyond frustrated. And that's when it became personal. Karen would stand at her kitchen window watching me. I caught her smirking as I tore down the second coop. Game on. I built a third coop. This one was engineered like a bunker. I installed soundproof insulation in the walls. I positioned it in the farthest corner of my yard, hidden behind trees. I was determined to outlast her. It survived an entire month. Then came the certified mail. Karen found a new angle, improper waste disposal. She claimed she could smell the chicken droppings. The HOA sent an inspector who, on a particularly windy afternoon, admitted he detected a faint agricultural odor. That was enough. The fine jumped to $500, along with final warning. Any additional violations would lead to legal action. Coop number 3 came down. At that point, it wasn't about chickens. It was about principle. Karen was on a crusade, and the HOA was her personal enforcement squad. I sat in my garage staring at my dejected hens and seriously considered giving up. But then I had an idea. Not just to win, but to win in a way that would leave Karen completely powerless. I went back to the bylaws and read every word. Fence regulations, lawn height restrictions, holiday decor timelines, and then buried deep in the landscaping and yard art section, I found it, the loophole. The HOA was extremely strict about sheds, enclosures, and animal housing. But when it came to garden sculptures or artistic installations, the language was vague. Shockingly vague. According to rules, a garden sculpture could be up to 12 feet tall, constructed from any material, and did not require pre-approval, as long as it wasn't a habitable structure. Habitable was defined clearly, a structure with foundation, plumbing, and electricity intended for human occupancy. My next chicken coop would have none of those things. Over the next 6 weeks, my garage transformed into a workshop. I spent thousands of dollars. This wasn't just a coop. It was a masterpiece of legal revenge. I even brought in an architect friend to help design it. What we created looked like a modern art installation. Sweeping steel curves, angular geometric cutouts, a blend of polished metal, cedar wood, and shatterproof polycarbonate panels. It looked like something you'd see in a sculpture garden outside a museum. Inside, absolute chicken luxury. Automated feeders and waters powered entirely by solar panels. A slope flooring system that directed waste onto a removable tray accessible through a hidden panel. No odor. Nesting boxes disguised as abstract alcoves. Perches designed like artistic branches, insulated walls, discreet ventilation integrated into the sculpture's design. It was indestructible, silent, and technically not a structure. Installation day was unforgettable. A crane lifted the massive piece over my house and lowered it into the backyard. Neighbors gathered to watch. Karen's blinds twitched nonstop. When it was secured, I moved the chickens in. They loved it, and from the outside, you couldn't see or hear a thing. It stood there like a towering, silent monument to suburban rebellion. I knew Karen wouldn't wait long. Less than 24 hours later, the HOA president showed up, with Karen practically shaking with anger beside him. "That thing," she shouted, pointing. "It's another illegal chicken coop." The president cleared his throat. "We've received a complaint about an unapproved structure." I smiled calmly. "Oh, you mean my sculpture? It's art." I invited them to inspect it. Karen circled it frantically, searching for doors or windows. There weren't any visible. She pressed her ear to the steel. "Silence! They're in there!" she shrieked. The president walked around with his clipboard. "Does it have a foundation?" "No. It rests on precast concrete piers, which are allowed for sculptures." "Plumbing? Electricity?" "No, sir. All internal systems are self-contained and solar-powered, just like garden lighting." He flipped through his rule book. "Height requirements? Met. Setback distance? Met. Habitable? By their own definition, no." And without proof of chickens inside, he couldn't cite me for noise or waste. Karen looked like she might explode. "This is ridiculous. Tear it down." The president sighed. Then he looked at her. "Ma'am, according to our bylaws, this appears to be a perfectly legal piece of garden art. There's nothing I can do." The expression on Karen's face was priceless. Pure disbelief. Total fury. Absolute defeat. And that's how I won. My chickens now live in what is arguably the most luxurious, over-engineered coop on the planet. I get fresh eggs every morning. And every time I glance into my backyard, I see that towering steel sculpture standing proud. A reminder that sometimes the best way to fight ridiculousness is with perfectly legal, even greater ridiculousness. Karen hasn't filed a single complaint since. I think she finally realized she was outmatched. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it's 12 feet tall, architecturally stunning, and full of very happy chickens. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this tale of suburban warfare, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this.